Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 23rd, 2024. Well, I hope everyone had a great evening and you're ready for the ramp up of earnings. We have a couple of big tech giants that will be reporting here this afternoon, two of the Mag 7 anyway, and it's likely going to prove to be a wild and woolly day of price action. So let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets were mostly lower, and Shanghai had a pretty rough day, being down 1.65%. The Hong Kong exchange, that's the tech heavy sector over there, also sliding 166 points, or down 0.94%. We had modest gains in South Korea. Nikkei was just slightly lower, and Australia was the best of the breed overnight, up over half, or right at 0.5%. If we take a look at European markets fluctuated here this morning, but have turned bullish here, with the DAX decidedly bullish, up this morning 1.16%, or 213 points. We've got FTSE and CAC also looking higher this morning. And U.S. futures have been lower overnight, but they're trying to push to the positive side as earnings start to roll out this morning. Right now, NASDAQ futures are still just slightly lower. So let's take a look at other areas of the market here. First off, if we take a look at oil is a little bit lower here this morning. If we look at XLE, however, in the oil producers, as you can see, could actually set up a bullish pattern here with a potential higher low. Broke through that resistance. There's that little W pattern formation. If we can pull back into here and rest, I'd keep an eye on some of those energy stocks. That possibility they could continue to rebound, even though we've got oil futures down 23 cents, falling to 78.16 a barrel. We haven't seen prices below $80 a barrel here for a while. And then Brent crude is down 25 cents at 82.15 a barrel. Natural gas in there, just a tiny little bit lower. If we look at UNG here, UNG had a really good day yesterday, but right now pretty much unchanged here this morning. If we take a look at our precious metals, well, we've got some volatility here as well. Whoops, let's get to gold. Gold this morning is pushing to the upside. We've got gold up right at the moment, $14 an ounce. It's been $14.20, $14.50 here this morning, pushing to the upside here as we see those bond yields pulling back just a little bit this morning. We'll look at those in just a second. But that being said, we're seeing just a little bit more selling pressure here on silver and copper, with platinum and palladium moving a little higher. As a matter of fact, palladium having a good upside pop here after a very disappointing breakdown. Broke through this resistance up here, and it looked like there was opportunity here, and then just ripped your heart out, bringing it all the way back down. Let's take a look at our cryptos here this morning. Bitcoin having a rough day right now. Take a look at BITO, pulling back here a bit. Bitcoin down $1,079 a coin, and quite a mix on the cryptos here this morning. Some up, some down, quite a mix going on in there. When we take a look at our bonds, our 2-year bonds have pulled back here. So when we take a look at things like TLT this morning, with bond yields pulling back, we've got bonds trying to move up. The 2-year bond right now yield is at 4.50%, a little bit lower than yesterday. Our 10-year at 4.23%. and our 30-year at 4.44%. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and how that relates to currencies here in the U.S. and around the world. Let's take a peek. No, I think we've kind of completed that for this morning. How about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. Well, let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for the day. Remember, shake off that bias. Try to look at these charts for what they are, not for what you want them to be. And let's see if we can get a really good idea of how we might want to approach this today. Well, first off, when we take a look at the diamonds here, you can see a nice little resting pullback occurred here in the market. And this is a healthy thing for the market to do, to rest and pull back. And we're trying to get a little bit of a bump here to the upside with some earnings this morning, trying to pump things up and get us going back to the upside. One of the things that would be probably a good thing is if this were to rest a little bit. We have seen so much emotion in the market and big whipsawing price action in here. It would be nice to catch a little bit of rest. Now, if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration today, what would we look for? Well, first off, we need to break through this area right in here. Break on through that, and then we'll start coming up and we'll start looking at this big old black candle up here and maybe passing up into some of these resistance levels here in the chart to see if we can break on through. And certainly that is possible with earnings. Anything is possible here with all the earnings we have coming our way for the rest of the week. So watch that closely. Now, considering that anything is possible, we also have to look at what would happen if the bears find reason to engage. And if that were the case, well, then I would be looking for these lows right in here for a retest of support. If we were to test there and fail, I think it wouldn't be all that big a stretch to think we're going to come back and maybe test this area of price support in the chart and also get a little bit closer to that 50-day moving average here that we stretch so far away from so quickly. So watch carefully for that little support area here in the chart to maybe be tested, and if those bears find a reason to do so. If we take a look at our SPY, also pushing up here this morning. And the big question in SPY, is this going to be enough energy? Can we break back through this resistance and this downtrend? So if the bulls find inspiration here today, those are the two areas that we need to deal with. And you can see we've got kind of a triple whammy of price resistance here, with that price resistance here, that trend break, and then of course right in here we've got that additional price resistance that we're going to have to be dealing with. So watch that area right in here to see if we can push on through. If we can, certainly a big possibility with some big tech earnings reports this afternoon, then we'll start looking to refill this gap. And once we do that, well, we're looking at testing all-time highs and blue sky above there in the SPY. However, if the SPY does find reason for a little bit of bearishness, I'd probably suggest we would come back down in here, test this area of the chart, and if that were to fail, then pushing back down here to test some of this bigger area price support in the chart would be likely. Beyond that point, everything's going to get a little bit sketchy here. If we were to really push on through down into here, that's going to raise some fear in the market. So keep an eye on that. And QQQ, also big opportunity today with Google and Tesla reporting this afternoon for a potential upside move. But you can see we've got some work here to do. So here again, we've got a resistance level in the chart. If those bulls can continue to find inspiration here, then we need to start pushing up through yesterday's high and see if we can make it up into here to test that resistance. If we can test that resistance, then we have that opportunity that we could move on higher, working to fill this gap and see if we can deal with this trend break here in the chart along the way. That would be our next level up, and then of course after that we're up here trying to test all-time highs here in the chart. They got a lot of work to do here on the Qs. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration today, and remember, not always do companies report great earnings reports. There is that possibility there could be some disappointment in some of these, and if the bears were to find that inspiration, first step, break that low. Second step, push down in here, test the low of last week, and then beyond that point, you can see this stretches across over here. Beyond that point, we're probably looking at testing this gap, potentially a gap fill right in there on the chart, and then back down into this area. And of course, that would raise some major fear and concern in the market if that were the case. If we look at our Russell has enjoyed quite the rotation here in the market as we're deleveraging from the tech sector and kind of widening out, which I think is a healthy thing for our market, widening out some of the leadership here in the market. And you can see popping into that zone. We've got this colored as kind of the red zone. This is a big area price resistance. It goes back to 2021 and 2022. We'll see how they deal with that. We popped back into it yesterday on the close, and now we're going to start looking at some of these levels up here if those bulls can continue to find inspiration to push higher and that rotation continues, to see if we can get back up here toward that upside of that range without a rejection like we had last time. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration, well, I would suggest breaking that back down below this little red zone here in the chart would be the first step. So if we were to pop down through there, that would raise a little concern, and then we're going to start looking through these progressive layers and potential gaps to the downside, moving back down to this major area of price support if the bears were to really engage, and that would really raise some fear in the market as well. Remember, when we take a look at our QQQ, we're not all that far from a 50-day moving average. So once again, if we were to pull back into here, I think there's a pretty good chance a 50-day moving average would be tested there. And I would say the SPY, a little bit less chance of doing that. But if we came all the way down into here, in that move to catch some price support on that next wave down possible if we make a lower high, then it wouldn't be all that hard to see an opportunity for that to be tested. Let's take a look at our VIX here this morning. Our VIX, nice pullback yesterday in that VIX. Notice we rallied up here to this big downtrend here in the chart. And so far, we had a nice rejection of that level here yesterday. Now, the big question is, can we continue with that bullish move strong enough that we can start breaking back down progressively through these areas of price support? If we do, then we could push all the way back down here and show that we have really no fear in the market. There's that little teeny tiny upside trend. However, if we were to find any of these areas of price support, meaning that we see that bearish activity coming back into the market, that's the thing we're going to have to be worried about. We often will get a surge like this. Here's a nice big surge, but really couldn't hold, and we push back. We surge up here and we hold that higher low in here, and that's where real selling can come into the market. And I mean fearful selling could come in if we hold those higher lows, and it's really going to be all dependent on how those earnings come out. So watch that carefully here. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122 indicator, which is the 4-week new high, new low ratio, had a really big push to the upside yesterday, which is, well, good. We enjoyed that move, but at the same time, a little bit concerning because we are all already up here pushing the bearish reversal zone, and I think this morning in a gap up here in the market, if we can continue to push on some of these earnings events, we could be right back up here in that bearish reversal zone really quickly. So watch that closely. If we push on up, we don't have a whole lot of room that we can move there to the upside. Certainly plenty for a single day, but watch that carefully. Now, if the bears were to come up with any inspiration in any of these earnings, then we'll be looking for an area like this for that downside move. So we've got more potential space to move to the downside than the upside. But of course, we're very centric on earnings right now, and everyone's got a lot of hope in there for that. If we take a look at our T2108, our T2108 had a nice little recovery yesterday, bouncing back up as those bulls maintain that control. One thing I will continue to mention is that we are pretty frothy. We still have upside room, as you can see, to reach some of these peaks up here, up in the mid to upper 70s, up toward 80. We've got room up there for that to move. But we rarely have the ability to maintain that very long, and we tend to pull back. So just kind of keep that in mind. If we get anything in those earnings that give us some concern, we could see that pullback coming here, well, relatively soon if we're not able to just see some really great earnings reports. But bulls are definitely in control. T2107, very much the same. We're up here in this very, very frothy region of T2107. It is rare that we can hold this very long. We've popped out of here before, but being able to hold up there is a little bit of a challenge here for the market. Bulls are definitely in control, but once again, we're kind of starting to see that overbought condition here very quickly again in the market. And then T2101, well, yesterday as we rallied, we saw market breadth pulling back, which really isn't a major concern at all, as long as we, considering the fact that it was kind of a hurry up and wait day. One thing that I would say is it could be a kind of a hurry up and wait day today as well. After we get through these early morning earnings reports, just keeping in mind everybody's going to be thinking about how's Google, how's Tesla going to perform today, and what's that going to mean for the market. So watch that pretty carefully here today. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. In our economic calendar, we've got a few things to be thinking about. On that, we're going to be looking at existing home sales this morning. Consensus is suggesting a decline in existing home sales. Again, that slowing of the economy, that's the purpose of raising rates. And if it comes in a week like this, that could have a negative impact on the market. And particularly if it misses that number and goes lower than that, that's where we might see market ramifications for that. We got a Richmond Fed manufacturing number. We've largely ignored these for a long, long time. We were -10 last time. They're looking for a -7, but probably going to be largely ignored. And then beyond that, we've just got a 2-year auction and the money supply number, some bond announcements. So very light day. As you plan into Wednesday, keep in mind we got mortgage applications, PMI, corporate flash, petroleum status, survey of business inventories in there, and some bond auctions as well, as we ramp up to that really busy day on Thursday with the GDP number and durable goods. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. Now, our earnings, guys, this is going to be really important. That there is no way that it would take the full video to cover all the earnings that are going to be reporting here today. So make sure you click the link if you from the title of the video, if you look down, there's a little description in there and it says more. Click on that more, and that will open up that lower area, and you can click the link to go to the morning blog to get the full list of notables for today. I'll cover here just a few this morning. There's a couple that have already reported. Coca-Cola has reported this morning. We've got a little bit of, kind of a spending top, but a very bullish pattern here in Coca-Cola, looking pretty good. General Motors, bang up earnings here this morning, popping through, pushing on through to the upside, looking good. We're also going to hear from like Kimberly-Clark here this morning. We're going to hear from Philip Morris. We've got Spotify reporting, nice pop there. We're going to hear from Freeport. So lots of potential market moving reports this morning. So watch that for the bouncing around that we could easily see here in the market. GE moving higher. And then after the bell today, the most notables are going to be Tesla and Google. And of course, Google is Google L or Alphabet. So keep an eye on those this afternoon, but we're also going to be hearing from like CNI. We've got EQT that will be reporting. We're going to hear from Mattel, RRC, so Seagate will be in there. Texas Instruments will be in there this afternoon. So quite a few reports that could move us substantially in the market. So watch carefully for those. Remember, click that link below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog. So how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor and click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment, that helps the channel to continue to grow. I truly, truly appreciate the kind words that everyone passes along and all of the great support for the channel. So thank you so much, everyone. I do truly, truly appreciate it. I also wanted to remind everyone I am doing a public e-learning class tonight. Just go to the Hit and Run Candlesticks website and come into the public trading room, the free trading room. I'm going to be doing a class on the directional options trading rules that I use. So if you guys have an interest in that, come on over. And then from there, I will also be announcing, so you get a sneak preview here, I'll be announcing a Wednesday and Thursday open house here in Right Way Options, and we'll be providing a link for that. As a matter of fact, if you look in the description of this video, you'll also find a link to register for that open house, and you can spend 2 days with us on Wednesday and Thursday. So let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to be doing your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember that with the volatility that we could see, not only politically, but all these earnings reports, look for some wild price action here in the market and pay very, very close attention to that, because no matter what decision you make, you have to have a plan to protect yourself and make sure you're doing a good job in protecting yourself. None of these are recommendations to buy or sell any security, and you need to make sure that you're following your own trading rules. So let's take a look at a few stocks that, well, gosh, they're just looking pretty interesting here. If you take a look at RTX, nice little upside trend. We popped up here, tested resistance, pulling back to find support. Nice bullish candle in there yesterday. If they can find that bullish energy to pop on through, that's something to certainly be paying attention to. Take a look at PepsiCo. Now, PepsiCo is going to be reporting Not until 10.8 in here, but it may get some benefit from the Coke report today. Nice little upside move, breaking through some resistance here in the chart. Gotta love that, the way that's looking. Keep an eye on that for that upside move here in the market. As you guys remember, I've been mentioning like CLF. Well, CLF is starting to show just a little bit of worry here in that chart, breaking that trend, struggling. It tried to go yesterday, just really couldn't get much of anything in the way of energy to the upside after that earnings report. Still worth keeping an eye on, but not really in the wheelhouse here for a great looking chart. Take a look at Siri. Siri could be potentially setting up. Let me extend that trend on out there. When we look at a chart like this, it's bounced around up here quite a bit, but what I think it's really trying to do is just ease some of this volatility in here, come on back to the trend, and then we might look for that next opportunity to the upside there. Take a look at stocks like BMY. BMY coming up out of this bottom now. We have hated on BMY for a long time. Nobody likes it, but we're starting to see some evidence that maybe institutionally they're beginning to pick this up. Now, we do have a complication here. It's going to be reporting on the 26th, so watch that carefully. But you can see coming up through that downtrend, trying to hold in there as a higher low. And this is a pattern that we call a rounded bottom breakout, where a stock is very, very oversold, breaks above that 50-day moving average, holds in there, and then we would be looking for that opportunity to move up here toward that 200-day. So watch that closely. I'm keeping an eye on Pfizer as well, and by the way, I do have a long-term position, so I'm probably biased on this, but Pfizer making that move, breaking through some resistance up here, and now resting in that pattern. A little consolidation up here, and I might be looking for some additional upside opportunities. So keep an eye on that drug sector here. Yeah, we've got a lot of earnings reports coming and that could really mess them up, but they are worth keeping an eye on. And when I take a look at this one on the weekly for that longer term that I'm looking at, there's a beautiful bottoming pattern there on that weekly, and I'd be looking for some upside to come on that depending on how those earnings come out. Let's take a look at a few other places that could be very interesting here today. Earlier in the video, I mentioned energy here and XLE. You can see XLE, nice little resting formation in here, pulling back into some support. If we could find some buyers in here, start pushing that back up, there's a nice little trend resumption to the upside. So keep an eye on some of those energy stocks like FANG. Still looking very good, although we did slip this support in here, couldn't quite hold on to it. If those bulls could come back in here quickly, might be okay. Watch that carefully in FANG. And then, of course, as you guys know, I am looking for the opportunities here potentially in bonds. A couple weeks ago, Bank of America sent out to all of their customers that you should start watching for the long bond here in the market. And I've been holding TLT for a while, looking for that opportunity here for TLT. If we continue to see those bond yields weaken up on good earnings and things like that, we could be watching for TLT to push on through here to the upside. Keep an eye on that. Pretty interesting chart, at least at the moment. We'll see a lot of volatility in there. And of course, got to be keeping an eye on gold. Although we had a terrible gap down here, we've also created kind of a interesting Morningstar type pattern here. If this completes today to the upside, watch that closely. We may bounce right off of that upside trend and continue to push back up, at least to maybe fill the gap here. So watch that in gold. If bonds yields continue to weaken and we continue to get closer and closer and closer to a potential rate cut in the market, I'm going to be watching for that opportunity to pick up maybe some more gold. And look at PHYS if you want a physical gold ETF where you're not just holding paper gold. Physical gold might be a place to go, catching a little bit of price support, finding some buyers in there, pushing up, worth keeping an eye on, I think, in the market. And then let's take a look at our financials. My goodness, financials resting back here after zooming moves to the upside, pulling back, trying to find some support in here. May have to rest for a period of time because that actually is pretty parabolic when you think about it. Not too many trends can be sustained at that kind of level in the chart, but a little bit of a rest in here. I'd be watching for some opportunity in some of those stocks, looking pretty decent overall. Keep an eye on Walmart. I continue to mention Walmart here in these videos. Nice little resting consolidation coming back here in a trend. And this thing has just been following along. You can see the patterns here within a trend, just continuing to pop off new trading alerts, new setups, more upside potential, and there's no reason to believe it can't do it here again, the way Walmart has been moving to the upside. So watch that closely. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Be prepared. Prepare for some volatility with these earnings reports today. We could see quite a little bit of fluctuation in the market. But that being said, that also creates that opportunity to make some pretty good money if you're on the right side of that trade. So watch carefully, plan carefully, have an awesome day, and I will see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. Wishing you all the very, very best.